All right, call the meeting to order. Commissioner Gage, lead us in pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. There was a lot of enthusiasm in that pledge. All right, first item on the agenda is to approve our agenda.
Move.
Motion by Gage, second by Dennert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next, we'll open up the meeting for any public comment. Good morning.
Morning, Mark Bosley here. I want to talk a little bit about this setback. After getting my summons for the condemnation, there's a map in there and it shows that this pipeline is going to be way too close to Freddie Robinson's house for a setback. And I got maps here, you can pass them around. Right down here in the corner is where Freddie lives. I don't know what can be done about this. Some of the people say they're going to follow the regulations, and I don't see it happening. And there maybe should be a cease and desist order put in on this pipeline till everybody in the county meets these setbacks. So I don't know who's up to enforce this or what the next process is, but things aren't getting done right. Just wanted you to know.
Who is enforcing these setbacks? Or do they just say, here's a setback, and just leave it
That's
go?
a question that we plan on asking our state's attorney. Ross hopefully is on the way, or Mark. So when, that's a question that we've, there's Ross. Did you hear the question?
That'll all come up when they apply for their conditional use permit. So we're a long ways off from that.
From the actual enforcement of the location. Okay.
Okay, so why do they have a map that they're putting out that this is where it's gonna go? Why do they have armed people standing in the middle of the road with guns so people can't go on their own property? I served 32 years in foreign countries, so that would not happen in America. I understand that when a car comes down the road, these bunch of mafia or whatever they are with guns, unsnap their guns and put their hands on their guns. This is America. That crap should not be happening here. It's almost like we're turning into a communist country. And who's enforcing it? Is the sheriff supposed to enforce it? Does the commission enforce it? The state's attorney's office? To the attorney general? Who does?
I can't answer that, Freddie, because we're all facing something that we've never faced before.
I agree.
So I don't have an answer for you, but we have a lot more questions than we do answers at this point.
And I appreciate your involvement. I know that you're probably tired of seeing some of us show up in here. But it's our property. Our forefathers homesteaded this land, and now somebody can just come in and walk on it, and if you don't like that, they'll get guys with guns.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Wayne, sorry. This actually goes even deeper. I mean, it goes to the extent of what these folks have already done without a permit from the PUC. Now, we've got them out there surveying less than 1,500 feet from people's property, houses, and they're going to continue to do it. I mean, they're going to push it. And then, so it makes the whole situation so big that if somebody doesn't take a stand and stop it now, somehow, and I don't know if that means that the county has to go to a judge and get an injunction to stop them until the county has the opportunity to put a moratorium, or the moratorium is there, something to stop them from continuing to do this surveying within 1,500 feet of people's property. I mean, who's going to go back after they get that route established? And they've got, God knows, hundreds, maybe 1,000 places where they're inside that 1,500 feet, how are they gonna make them change all that? What kind of a lawsuits, what's gonna go on after that? I mean, to me, it's just absolutely blows my mind that they can even, when's the sheriff gonna stand up and protect the Constitution of the state and of the United States? That's his job.
Totally agree, Dennis. Like I said, we have more questions than we do answers at this point. And so at this point, all we can do is try to find out what authority whoever has to enforce whatever it is they're to enforce. I mean, right now, we don't know if what they're doing is illegal. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Well, even if it isn't illegal, it's to the point of pushing it so far that how do you stop them after they've gotten into it that far? I mean, they're not afraid to start all kinds of lawsuits. When's the county gonna start a lawsuit and say, you can't do this? You're not gonna do this. We've got an maybe the ordinance, obviously, the ordinance doesn't have enough teeth in it, and that went way back when I was on planning, going back 20 years ago. We struggled with trying to get teeth in the ordinance that you could actually put somebody in jail, fine somebody, do something to make them stop doing what they were doing. And here we've got an issue that's mega times bigger than what some of those issues were, and something's gotta stop. It's gotta stop.
We don't have a Public Utilities Commission anymore. We have a private. The whole state is involved with this pipeline. There should be somebody in charge of overseeing this pipeline. One person or a group, but they don't. It's just shotgun effect.
Well, another thing, one last comment. County Commission has got way more authority and way more power than what normally is exercised, and I mean, it's all there. The ability is there, local control. We know for a fact that a lot of the folks in Pierre have been bought off. The county commissioners haven't been bought off. There's things that the county commissions can do to put a stop to this, and even one of the PUC commissioners, Gary Hansen, he asked at the Redfield meeting, he asked for input from the county commissioners. He wanted to know what the county commissioners throughout this whole project going through South Dakota, where they were at, because there is power at your table, and need to exercise it. Tell them to stop.
It scares me, again, this is America, and we have people out with guns not letting people on their own land. What happens when the other side gets guns?
Call the sheriff in, tell the sheriff, go down there and stop them until they adhere to the 1,500-foot setback, and let them sue. They love it. They love to sue. Let them sue some more.
These people with guns, who are they? Are they the mafia? Are they a private security outfit? What's their qualifications? What's their training? You just got a bunch of people out there running around with guns, wanting to shoot somebody. Scary in America.
Any other comments under public comment?
Thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Do they have to be certified in the state to be law enforcement and carry weapons?
Yes.
How do they, you just can't pick up a gun and control something with a gun without some kind of certification or some kind of a clearance from somebody. How do they do that? I guess that's my question. I would think that, why shouldn't I just be able to go carry a gun and keep people off my property? Well, I can. So how do they get clearance for that?
Can't answer
Who
that.
certifies them?
Well, that's like, they're accusing Jared of some things. There's a polygraph across the street with an operator. These people that are making accusations, let's put them on the polygraph machine, and if you're lying, you get arrested. They're interference.
All right, our 10 minutes for public comment is up. Are there any other comments out there on the phone or online?
I can try again, but...
Okay.
Just one
That's
that
right,
I-
we're not on the phone.
Just real quick, one that I had yesterday, I had a gal that lives down on the southwest of Aberdeen, near where the line goes, and she said yesterday she was driving and she was largely unaware of this until recently. And she was driving down the section line and they were surveying right there. I believe this was yesterday. And she asked what was going on, and the answer was, oh, it's okay. This landowner said it was fine. And I know who the landowner is, and it's not something that landowner is okay with. So I don't know if, Dave, do you know what's going on? I mean, do you have any idea there?
I am not privy to that information. My job solely is to just attend the meeting here.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have any idea where the surveyors are or anything unless someone says something to me, but I don't have any control. I'm a
There
glorified
was 5 or
secretary
6
here.
cars on Highway 6 just south of Highway 12 yesterday, and they were on Shawneman's land. I saw 5 guys in the field, 2 guys on the road with security deals on their vests, and they looked like they were starting to walk back to the road and come out of there when I went by there.
Well, that was the concern that I had, is that this landowner, it was not the first time that it said, well, this one said it was okay to do this, so this one signed off, and I know for a fact that that landowner
Well, that's
had
just
not.
more lies.
Yeah, they lie when the truth sounds better.
Okay, is there anything else?
Is this something we can send our sheriff's department out just to find out what these guys are certified in, or how can they just be out there with?
Sheriff Lundman's had conversations with Summit. His goal is just to keep everybody safe and not let these situations escalate.
They've already escalated.
So you'd have to ask him what the solution that they came up to was. But we are a constitutional carry state. So as far as carrying a weapon, there's nothing we can do about that.
You don't have to be certified in this case.
No.
For open carry.
Right, because these people are just legally carrying firearms. Is that correct?
Yep.
So if these people don't live in South Dakota, how can they come in and just carry from another state? Can they do that?
Yeah.
If they're from a constitutional carry state, the way I understand it.
Concealed carry, they'd have to have a license or approval.
Okay, is there
They're
any-
representing a company, a private security company. Can they do that? The city has an ordinance, I believe, we're used to, that you couldn't do private security work in Aberdeen unless you were approved by the commission.
Anything else? All right, we appreciate the input. I believe the rules of public comment state that we can listen to public comment and we are not to engage, if I remember the rules correctly. So from now on, we'll listen to the testimony and act on it appropriately after the meeting. But public comment is for you, your opportunity to address us.
People should feel, if they feel threatened or anything along those lines, or they have an issue, contact the sheriff's office. We just don't want anything bad to happen.
All right, thank you everyone for your input. Moving on, second reading and possible adoption of ordinance 244, rezone.
Ordinance 244, an ordinance amending Title IV, second revision, Brown County Ordinance as amended to rezone certain described properties, filed by Levi Jensen. To go from Ag Preservation District to Mini Ag District.
Is there anyone here to speak to ordinance 244? Any objection, comments on ordinance 244? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move.
Second by Gage, second by Weiss. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, Rachel Kipley, Fair Manager. Morning, Rachel.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Thank you.
So, appreciate you guys giving us a little extra time to look into those 3 bids that we got a couple weeks ago. Took them to the Fair Board, took them to the Entertainment and Rodeo Committee, who are the 2 committees that really, behind the scenes use those. And you would have thought it would have been an easy decision based on the pricing. However, one of the bidders was somebody we've used since 2012 when we first got those big screens, so just knowing their expertise in the situation and the relationship, that was kind of a tough thing. But at the end of the day, The low bid is what they're gonna recommend, because with the 4-year contract, I mean, you're looking at about a $80,000 difference over 4 years. And as much as they kinda had some concerns with the telehandlers holding up the screens, there's significant, insurance and all the things that you need to make sure that they're secure. There's a number of other venues, including the Sioux Empire Fair, the State Fair, that use them. They're completely safe. And there is also indications that you could build like a frame to put them in. You don't have to have the skid steer or the telehandlers, so that's another option they're looking at. So that, at the end of the day, is what they're recommending to you.
All right, any questions for Rachel?
Are the sizes right on the
Yep,
screen size?
the one that they're going with is bigger, yes.
And just to recap, that includes the video and the production and all the rest of that to go with it.
The only thing it doesn't include is we'll have to rent or get sponsorship for those 2 telehandlers to hold them up.
Okay, and that's the committee's recommendation?
It is.
Move.
Motion by Weiss. Second by Dennert, to approve sideline productions for the screens for the fair and the rodeo. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And we did announce this morning that Jimmy Allen will no longer be at the Brown County Fair on Saturday the 19th. We are super excited about the other artists we have secured. Gary LeBox, he's got 20-plus years of music with him and his trio, Rascal Flatts. I think they released over 40 singles, 14  number 1 hits, so he could easily carry the night, but the entertainment committee is looking at another artist to couple with him to complete the lineup. So, do you guys have any questions?
Hopefully we find a replacement for Saturday night.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Do you want this contract, Rachel?
That'd be great.
Thank you. All right, next up, we've got Dirk Rogers, Highway Superintendent.
Oh, yeah.
Couple right-of-ways, discuss load limits, department update. Good morning, Dirk.
Howdy, how are you guys?
Great, how about you?
Good. Let's do low limits first. I would like to leave them on from 6 to 281, so from 281 just to Road 6, leave that on for another week. And
On 5?
On 5, and then we'll take off from 6 west to, west to the McPherson County line. We'll take those off today, or this afternoon, or whatever. And I want to leave the other ones on for one more week, just see if anything changes. Not a shot at law enforcement. I don't know how well they're being enforced based on the truck traffic up there. Nobody's fault. It's a lot of area they cover, so I'm trying to turn my phone down. So that's my recommendation. I would like to extend them on Road 5 from 281 to Road 6 for one more week, and we'll take them off. Well, the other one will just expire today, so.
Yeah. So you need a motion to
I would like a
extend-
motion to extend the 4 miles one more week.
And move it.
Motion by Dennert, second by Weiss. Any further discussion, questions?
So 6 west is open then?
From 6 west is open, yep. And that's the only spring load limit left, is those 4 miles. I mean, our 8th Avenue and 10 and them that are permanently posted are all the same, so.
Okay.
That's pretty soft there, just,
Oh,
you know, in that low spot, so.
Yeah, we're trying to come up, there's 2 approaches, or 2 ways of trying to solve the softness in that first. I have to look into, we're kind of limited, I think there's a wetland easement on that particular trapped water there. The way it works, it gets so high, which is too high for the road, and then it'll spill out to the north, but that elevation's always maintained high, and if we can, if we can come up with a way to drop some of the water level, but, you know, how that works with, so we'll probably end up just raising the road up and trying to put some structure in it, and then, of course, we gotta look and see if we gotta put another pipe in there, because we'll be holding more water back, and, you know, the dance, but I really don't think.
There goes $1 million.
Yeah, that's why we have 2 projects this year, you know? So anyway, but that's, yeah, there's, a seed tender got buried in there, and we still haven't got it back put together. It's gonna, there's even a chance that that first piece might not even get paved But, as you might guess, everything's kind of pushed back. I'll cover a little bit of that just because of the weather.
Okay?
Let's do the right-of-way occupancies. I think they were actually in your packet this year, or this week, weren't they?
I don't think we voted on that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Yeah, I'll just keep talking if you guys don't stop.
We noticed that.
Yeah,
That's new.
It's not new, right? First right-of-way is from, Northern Valley, and I believe is that the one that's, yeah, it's all new fiber. It goes down south of Butler, this one is.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
When we're doing these right-of-ways, what is the, how deep do they have to have that thing when they go through approaches?
It depends. It depends on what the utility is. I mean, we can have them go deeper if you have problems, but we frequently pull up culverts and rip up something. You know?
Because I know when they go in and they go up over so if it's, let's say, the 24-inch bury in the, the ditch.
Right.
Then they go up and over that approach, then you're not...
On your in slopes, it's not that.
Yeah, and you're not even 24 inches, and then from the road depth, you're not even 24 inches, and we're running into a problem that Scott brought to my attention, that when we give an approval to put in a new approach, but they have to take the other one out, they're starting to not take them out because they don't want to deal with the fiber in there, or whatever line is buried, because it's not buried down, it's in the approach itself. So I was wondering if there's some way that we could have them bury them things to the same depth all the way through when we do these right-of-ways or not?
We can advise them on it, and...
Strongly?
Yeah, we can strongly advise them. We can not give them permits if you have a specific, if you know who the operator is,
Yeah.
You almost have to push it if you're gonna do that.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's...
Because if you're plowing it in, you got a blade with a chute, and the chute's off the back of it, and the piece of equipment comes up, and just the geometry of the whole thing
Right,
yeah.
means that it's gonna float up, into the trench. You got the knife edge on the front, but as you're lifting that up and it's tipping over, you're gonna wind up bringing, whatever you're putting in there for cable is gonna float back up a certain extent. The only way that you're gonna address that going over, approaches with any kind of slope whatsoever is to push them.
Or could we do something on the back end that if they ever have to remove the approach or something like that,
They gotta
that
pay for
company's
moving it themselves.
Well, the company putting it in, they're gonna have to come in and retrench it, and they'd have to cover that cost, and it wouldn't be on the, whatever landowner that's taking the approach out.
That'd be the better scenario.
So then they don't have to mess with it, because it's not like we're taking approaches out like every week,
Right.
You know what I mean? But I mean, it's come up more than once,
Right,
so-
there's a couple caveats here.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one is, and with the current mood in the room, this is a great topic to go heading down, but, so, if you're gonna put first off, the law doesn't allow to do what you just said without adding something else in there. You can't just go out, the right-of-way, the county owns the right-of-way. So
Yeah.
people come and they get permission, with some exception with franchise things and some other things where we're limited on how much we can regulate that, right? We can tell them how deep to put it, and, like I said, a lot of times we'll go back and they've trenched through culverts. There's all kinds of stuff. Even after the fact, getting them to take some responsibility for it is a bit tricky. Now, I'm not discounting the issue at all. Part two of this conversation is the landowner changed the situation. Now, the county's gonna allow him to move his approach, and that's great, and we can do that. But the landowner is the one that's changing things. And if you're gonna be someone and you're gonna go dig in the right-of-way and work in the right-of-way, just like us, everything's on you. We've already given them the right. The county can make you move it. Whether or not a landowner can make them move it and return the charges with the way the situation is now. I don't mean the situation, the way it is right now. I don't know that the law is for the county to control those right-of-ways, and that's why they have to move them at no cost if we want them moved.
So if someone's applying for a new approach, and the agreement is you can have that new approach in the new location, but you tear out the old one,
Right.
and that agreement is, who enforces the fact that they don't tear it out?
Who enforces anything here?
I do.
Do you?
A lot of my zoning ordinances, yes.
Like trees and all the approaches, and this ain't a shot at you, you've heard me say this, like someone calls and bitches about something out at Richmond Lake, and I said, okay, you better get out the checkbook and a whole nother department just to go out there and correct all the minutia that's wrong. And that's not, this isn't a negative at Scott, but the whole time I've been here, we don't have good regulation. If we wanna invest in something, we need a code enforcement guy. That would be nice. And I'm sorry, I don't...
Or gal.
Or gal, individual. Jesus. I'm just too old school to be around anymore.
Just trying to
you know
help you
that?
out here.
Thanks. But that's, I mean, that's what we need. It shouldn't be on you trying to set up stuff and get all the legal end of it and the paperwork end of it done. Now you gotta go jump in your car and go out and drive. And let's face it, what we got now is us driving around and Kendall says, oh, I gotta call Scott and see if that guy got a permit, put up that new shed, you know? It's not an effective system. I mean, that's actually, in my opinion, short of anything else, has nothing to do, if we'd have had this conversation 2 years ago, I'd have said the same thing. We need somebody that can go and follow up on it. And I'm not trying to make any work for anybody, but...
Well, I'm not opposed to following up on it, it's the enforcement, who has something in their ordinance
Right.
to have that approach taken out, and I can say to them that, well, your new approach has to come out until you rectify the old approach.
Yeah.
Because that's what the agreement was.
Right. So...
But there has to be enforcement of fines or something
Right.
to make it work in
Basically,
today's society.
We go out and just say, all right, I've had enough, and correct the problem, and then that just leads to a whole other series of activities, so.
Yeah, you guys...
So I'm not against any of what you're saying, but we have to get that in there somewhere, you know?
We
And
don't
then
want you guys taking a backhoe out to tear it out because they won't, because the cost of that is very ineffective.
Right. Well, we'll just bill it back to them, but,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the way the option works, I guess.
so. Does that help anything at all, or no? Not really? I can talk to them.
It didn't help, but it answered the question.
Let me, okay. I can look into these closer and see how we actually have this worded. I'll admit, I've kind of become kind of cookbooky with them after so many years, but...
Well, I was just curious, because I mean, I know it's becoming, it's coming up here and there. It's not something I would ever thought of, to be honest, until it
Well,
became an issue.
we can require them to, like, they have to bore all the roads, you can't cut a road. Doesn't matter if it's gravel, whatever it is, you can't cut a county road. Now, how we'll enforce that, just the first one that does it will find out on how well things go for them in the future. But I haven't had a problem with it yet. It's not, I don't know that it's in code. It's just anytime anybody calls and says, I go, no, don't cut the road, you gotta bore it. So we could go to that extent, but that's really gonna, I mean, that's gonna add a lot of cost. It's gonna start boring under every field approach in the
Well,
township.
yeah, I would just say if you could do something maybe on the back end, but I mean, if these are companies that are getting right-of-ways all the time, I mean, our recourse would be just to not approve them to be in the road, and then whoever they're putting the line in for would be mad at them, and then they would feel the pressure to abide by them.
Well, I mean, that's not the perfect way to doing things,
No,
but that's
but-
called reality, and that's,
Okay,
so.
sorry.
And there isn't a lot of them, I'm not, you know, every once a year you'll get somebody new, but for the most part, you guys see who the right-of-ways are for. I've heard the
Yeah.
same 5, 6 companies, and they have probably the same 5 to 10 contractors working for them, you know? These are people that we see all the time, so.
Well, I get your point, though, if the landowner is requesting the change, and then because of the setback requirements, the separation between, it's like, okay, you can have this one here, but that one's gotta go. Well, the landowner's initiating it, but the reality is, you know, the depth measured from where, over the, you know, the ground of the right-of-way, of the approach, or where you're at there, and then just the practical application of it. But if, you know those utilities are there, and you're gonna have to be removing it, you're gonna have to be super careful with it and communicate with that utility and say, hey, let's work together to figure out how we're gonna do this. There's a high likelihood that it's gonna change that. And you have the same thing just with erosion, or if you're,
Yep.
you know, redressing things like that and stuff. You know, you can have something that's 3-4 feet deep, and you go out and, you know, take some of the sediment and some of the rest of that stuff out of a right of way, and all of a sudden you're exposing things. Heck, we used to do that 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It happens. But, locate. Anytime you're gonna put a spade to the ground, locate.
Locate.
I saw a core sample that somebody did the other day, it had 3 pieces of cable in it.
Really?
It's like, whoa! Guess what? A little attention.
I don't even remember which one we were on now.
NBC.
Okay, so NBC, and as long as we've gone off the rails a little bit, I'll point out, this is one of those road right-of-ways that has city property annexed all the way around it. So, I was hoping maybe that said that it was gonna be on private property and we could crumple it up and throw it in the garbage, but it's in our right-of-way adjacent to the city, which is Butler, you know, Butler's in city limits, and what is that, Meadowview or whatever, that new development down there, and Farm Power's in city limits, but the road is not in city limits. So,
Just we keep thinking that it'd be simple and big.
yeah, just perfect.
We have the luxury of owning or being responsible for that section of right-of-way,
Yep,
still.
yep, and it's we keep her nice.
All the more need to change the law so that when they annex both sides, they take the road.
And we should have that conversation. That one is, you know, we were talking about some of those different things we wanted to look at for changing the laws, and those other two are pretty simple. This one will require a lot more, I think, definition, you know what I mean? It isn't so much as swiping out the 50 and changing it to 100 or whatever, you know, but maybe we'll have some work for you folks too. Carl?
We'll do it.
Okay.
Brandy will do it.
Some of them will do it.
I think I'd rather work with Brandy than you anyway, Carl, so
I
that's fine.
understand.
So your recommendation is to approve the NBC right-of-way?
Yes.
Application.
Please, move it.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weeds. Is there any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And the other one is for Northern Electric. It's running new service underneath 12N. I had to stop and look. That's Roosevelt north of Fairgrounds Road, our mile up to 13. So that one is on, there's two spots in there. They're born to take primary electrical underneath the road. There's where Rory R's place is, and then there's gonna be two additional lots in there from what's there now,
Okay.
all the way up that mile. So I would recommend that one for approval as well.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weeds. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Department updates, or have you already covered that?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Hard to tell some days.
Oh, no, there's more.
Oh, let's just go down the list, just updates on a bunch of stuff. So Sand Lake Bridge, still hammering away with the right-of-way from the refuge, but we're at least moving on it. The last thing I had to send refuge proof that there'd been a 404 permit and a cultural resources survey done on the property. So we're going back and forth, and as soon as we can get the right-of-way hammered out, and they have to do a couple updates, we should still get that bridge bid here before, in the fall, I would think, so. And then it'll probably, well, I don't even wanna say that now, but there's a chance that the road will be closed, 'cause it'll be like the one up by Frederick. They'll keep it closed through the winter, but if that happens, we'll make sure everybody knows.
So figure it out.
Yeah. The deck got poured on the bridge up north and east of Frederick. They haven't stripped forms yet. I haven't heard about the 3 and 7 day breaks, but I'm sure I would've heard something if it was failing already at the concrete. So that's just let it cure out, and then they'll strip them and finish it up, and that bridge should probably be open here in another month or so. I did get the first round of paperwork and some right-of-way stuff for the bridge that's in Elm Lake. It's Bridge 206, it's the one right by the resort, so that's moving forward. That one's being paid for by the second round of free Trump money, if I remember right. I don't know, it's one of the programs, but, that one is costing the county just 20%, and 80% is picked up by the federal government on that one. But that's different than any other, that's a completely hybrid standalone funding mechanism that's doing that one. We're actually up fencing and mowing and getting stuff, kinda as much as we can get started up there on the access road going into the Elm. It's gonna be slow going, it's just a mud hole up there. But we're trying to get all of our stuff out of the way, and as soon as Webster Scale, they've been up there checking every few days. They're working up in Ellendale on whatever that thing is they're building up there, so they've been stopping down and checking at the Elm. As soon as they can get in there and be productive, they'll get started on it. We've been visiting with the landowners and getting their fences where they want them and all that kind of stuff. a lot easier project since Fikkert's not on the commission anymore.
Want my advice?
No. I had 15 years of it already. We're gonna try starting on June 5th with the paving on 16. We'll do the 6 miles that go north of Prairie, or north of Tacoma Park Road up to the first bridge there. We'll get that done, then we're gonna do a little piece, starting in town and going north a couple miles. And then we're gonna have, and everyone listen, so you can tell your friends and neighbors, that we're gonna have that milled into gravel up by the bridge. So 2 miles south of the bridge and about a mile north of the Sand Lake Bridge, it's gonna be gravel, and it's gonna stay gravel through the winter. Everything else will get paved. It'll have new asphalt, except this 3 miles, that'll be gravel. There's sort of 2 reasons for it. One is I couldn't figure out how to scratch up enough cash to pave all 15 miles. It's better, as we know through experience, to leave them whenever we can through the winter. Not a lot of houses along it, people have to drive on it, but there's not a lot of houses adjacent to it to create those problems, and it's the worst part of the road. I mean, that thing just constantly blows up, so we'll just mill it up. It's sort of a double positive there, hopefully make the road better, and also we can kick it, $600,000 worth of paving down the street for next year, I guess, so.
Okay.
Dirk, who works with the railroad on crossings?
They kinda tell us, but yeah, they're communicated through us. And then we have, there's 2 different operators, so it just depends on which line you're on.
The crossing south of Warner on the county line.
On 27, yeah.
Is, you better have your seatbelt on when you go across there, it'll throw you out.
Yeah, it was funny, they replaced all the other ones on that whole rundown except that one. And they came down there that day and we were milling the road, and we didn't tell them we were gonna be down there. And they stopped and they said, quit, get away, Dirk's gonna get a phone call. And they never called, but they took a page out of my book and never replaced the crossing either. So, that's on a list that there's 2 projects going. One is, on one of the 2 rail lines, they have like it's already determined, we're gonna do this one, this one, this one. I'm pointing the wrong way, but that's on the big east-west line. And then on the north-south one down there, they're gonna start on that 27 and continue going south. So that one is in their plan for this summer.
Okay, thank you.
But the whole time I've been here, that's been a bad crossing since 2000. Yeah,
It's soft under there, and
we keep milling it up, and we mill it up and repack it, and then you go back in a few years and you mill it up some more. I've never figured out what the hell's happening there. But I agree, it's a bad one. Milling 16, I said that. We got most of the patching done except the southwest corner. There's one up on 14 that keeps coming apart, but I'm stunned that wasn't worse. The gravels are way worse than I thought they'd be, and the asphalt's been way better than I thought it would be. I'm surprised we haven't had more stuff blowing up. I would make a comment about leaving load limits on and putting them on early, but I know that's not always the automatic solution either. And then 13, my favorite road in the county, 13 west of the state park, we're gonna mill that up again and replot it, or re-prime it. It came apart, it's all right, it's back to what you gotta deal with an asphalt road that's, not very good. But before anybody gets lathered up, we'll go out, we're gonna go mill it up next week, relay it, re-prime it, and it'll be back like it was when we tried it in November, which I'm actually surprised that it worked like it did, because we were about a month or 2 past when we should have been trying that. And fortunately, it's not a very expensive thing, and we had to get rid of the oil last year anyway, but...
A little luck, it'll build up the base a little.
Yeah, it'll be in the road, so it's okay. The oil's in the road, right, but... Wow. That's all we're doing, I guess.
All right.
I just
Mr.
have
Bader.
a quick question.
Go ahead.
On Brown County 6, north of the spillway at Richmond Lake,
Okay.
or south of it,
South of the spillway?
yeah,
Okay.
are you aware of them possibly putting in a new spillway bridge and redoing everything and taking the old one out?
You're talking the bridge over Road 6,
Yeah.
or the bridge on Road 6?
Moving it further to the south in the middle of the lake type deal.
So I'll tell you everything I know about that project. They came out, you know, and they drilled some holes
Yeah.
on the top. They went down below and they hit a well, and blew a hole in the bottom of the well, at the bottom of the dam, and had to get that plugged. And they did a few more borings and they left. And I was somewhere in town, and a local interested party was commenting on what they knew about the project, and it was a whole lot more stuff than I knew about it. So when I got done listening to that, I called School and Public Lands, and they said absolutely nothing's going on with the project. So what I know is what I just said. And I gotta think if they're gonna tear the bridge out at some time, you know, I'll get an email or something, but, so.
One would think.
And I don't know if anyone has different, you know,
I mean, you'd be one of the first to know if they're gonna do something like that.
I wouldn't bet on that, but yeah, you would think, you know, they would at least come and I feel a little differently about that bridge because it was put in '99. I mean, that's, in terms of bridges, it's a new bridge, you know.
Yeah.
The one that we took up at the Elm was 50 years, 60, heck, I don't know, 80 years old, probably.
That was like 47 or something,
Yeah.
1947 or something.
So, I don't know anything.
Okay.
Any other questions for Dirk?
Not a question,
Go ahead.
but just for working with you from the state standpoint, Brandy is actually on the transportation
Cool.
committee. And there are only 13 people on that represent all the people in the state, so, and she's the only one up in this area of the country, so put her to work.
Excellent.
And we'll help her wherever we can.
And that's why.
Yeah.
She is the only one up there. It's not an easy job.
No.
Go ahead,
My favorite
Dennis.
committee.
Oh, it wasn't very busy.
Will there'll be another summer study, I think, on funding for counties. I think Roger Chase is the chairman of that summer study, and I think, you know, I was on transportation committee out in Pier when I was out there, and basically all we ever did in that committee was update federal regulations. I mean, really, what it comes down to is a better funding mechanism for education so that counties can operate with a property tax and get things taken care of that way. So, thank you.
Al is on it.
Senator Northrup will be on that committee, on that summer study. Yeah, so.
All right, anything else? Thank you, Dirk.
You bet. You guys
Appreciate
have a
it.
beautiful day.
That'll be the plan, it's gonna be warm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next up, Shriver's Memorial for Brown County Multiple Internment Request. It was in the packet, I don't know if there's anyone here to speak to this. They're adding another, body to an existing grave, the way I read that memo. Are there any questions? Anyone here to speak to this issue?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Weiss. Second by Gage to approve the Shriver's request. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, now we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Thank
Keep
you,
up the good
Freddie.
work.
It will.
We'll keep you posted.
We'll do some research too to see what
All right.
some of the answers are.
Approval of the general meeting minutes from May 15th.
Move.
Motion by Weiss.
Second.
Second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims and payroll.
Move.
Motion by Weiss. Second by Feldheim. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Dennert, second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Travel request.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Not you.
Lottery permit.
you should do that. Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, motion by Gage, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Good night.
Approve and authorize chairman to sign the plat for Aberdeen zoning board.
Move. Second. Motion by Dennert, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claim assignment.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Leases.
Move. Second.
Motion by Weiss, second by Dennert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Zoning ordinances, set hearing date, and authorize advertising for a rezone and changes to Title IV temporary fireworks stand and special permitted use.
Move. Second.
Motion by Gage, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? I texted one of the Minnehaha County Commissioners. I heard that they are going to be acting or dealing with their version of a pipeline ordinance this morning in their commission meeting. So I asked him to email me what their final draft is, so I'll get that to you, Scott, for review. So we'll know what Minnehaha plans on doing with their pipeline ordinance, so. Anything else to come before the Brown County Commission? We have a need to go into executive session for legal and contracts. Is there anything else? Nothing with personnel this morning. Entertain a motion.
Move. Second.
Motion by Dennert, second by Weiss. To go into executive session. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in exec.
Good.
All right, we're back in session out of exec with no action as a result. Is there anything else to come before the board this morning?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Dennert, second by Weiss to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are
I got the
adjourned.
phone, guys, don't worry.